All right, come on in the building, you guys. Come on in the building. It is your homie HerbMan. Busting you back upside the head with another hot banger. Boogie, please go tell somebody your homie HerbMan is on. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Please follow, like, share, and subscribe on all the platforms at Love HerbMan. All right, so we all over here live on TikTok and YouTube. So if you guys want to go over to the YouTube, please support the movement. Please support the channel. Please support what we're trying to do, which is simply teach people how to heal themselves. And you cannot heal yourself if you do not know thyself. So we teach you here on the HerbMan Show about the human frame and the human design so that you can be well on your way to happiness, wholeness, and wellness. All right. Y'all know this how I go. I'm your neighborhood holistic practitioner. I'm your homie HerbMan. We're coming live from South Africa. Again, you guys, we appreciate all the love, all the support that's been going on thus far. We'll continue to ask you to share the lives. All right, this is free information. This is the free information station. All you got to do to pay for this information is simply pay attention. And how you pay attention is by double tapping that screen. Is getting us up to at least 100K likes per live episode. All right, but before we get started, we just like to get to 1,000 likes so we can get right into the subject matter at hand. All right, so you guys know how this goes. We are introducing to you the most powerful program on the planet, which is called the Owner's Manual. Okay, we don't need a blood type. We don't need a blood sample. We don't need a hair sample. We don't need a urine sample. We don't need a stool sample. We don't need a saliva sample. It's not going to be invasive. It's non-intrusive. We're not going to prick you, poke you, or prod you in order to get the information that's needed for you to be well on your way back to a healthy, balanced life. That's what the Owner's Manual is about. It serves as a guide for you guys to be able to get the optimal performance, optimal usage, and the longevity out of this lifestyle that you are wanting to have, okay? And it's just a few things that you got to understand about this in order for you to understand about yourself. So we teach you about nature so that you can learn about the nature of yourself, okay? That's what we do in a nutshell. For a measly, funky $50, you won't have to worry about health concerns ever again. When you're asking me, okay? If you're asking me, once you pay this $50 for this little program right here, you won't have to worry about anything anymore. You take the health back into your own hands. You can be your own health advocate. You can start to dictate what goes on in your therapist sessions or your psychologist sessions or your counseling sessions. You can start to dictate what's going in your body via medications and naturopathics and chiropractics and massage therapists and all this. You'll be able to know what it is that you require and what you need. And then it's just all about if that particular service is provided. But it's about you knowing what you need instead of out of your ignorance continue to create industry because you don't know, and you continue to just waste money on fruitless things that don't mean you any good. And if they don't mean you any good, there is somehow, some way they can be harming you. Okay, so if you're looking for a true alternative to modern medicine, if you're frustrated with the modern healthcare services, if you're frustrated with the modern healthcare system, if you're frustrated with the doctors and this and that, and you just been getting the runaround and you just don't know where to go, don't know where to turn to, then I'm telling you that what I'm doing, plus what everybody else is doing, is we're turning to nature. Okay. What I'm doing plus what everybody else is doing is we're turning to nature. And for a funky, measly little $50, you'll be able to get everything that you need, because not only is this about your physical body, but it's also about your spirituality as well. So you get all of that wrapped up into one thing, and that's going to be into your Owner's Manual consultation email format. All right. So with that being said, if you guys are interested in the Owner's Manual, please DM me and we'll get you all the information that you need. Now, over the past couple of days, we've been trying to teach you guys about the knowing of the wind. The knowing when, right? And I keep telling you guys that really what has happened is that the ancient people understood body preservation. Body preservation is not being studied the way that they did back in the day. It wasn't just mummification. Mummification was not for death. Death didn't mean the end. It meant the beginning of a new realm, a transition, a transformation. it never really meant the end of anything. Because if it's a part of life, then death can't end life because it's a part of life. If death is a part of life, now if you say life is a part of death, then that's something else. But if you're telling me that death is a part of life, then that means that death doesn't really have the ending power that we give it unless we give it that consciousness. So all of the ancient people were talking about dying before you die. Okay? If you guys over there on YouTube, going over there to YouTube, you guys, if you're not, you can follow me on TikTok. These people understood a sacred science of die before you die. This die before you die was none other than these 7 deadly emotions being eradicated from the body, the mind, and the soul before you enter into this heavenly consciousness. This death did not mean your body, it meant as far as your fleshly emotions. Die before you die was a slogan that was being studied by countless of Tibetan monks and gurus and Indian gurus and African shamans and the Bushmen and all. Since the beginning of time, mummification. What was mummification? Mummification was to preserve the body so that you can have something to come back to. Why? Because the body, we got our 1,000 likes. Let's go. I'm going because I'm already about to get into it. I'm anxious over here. I'm about to go ahead and get into it now. So keep tapping now. Keep talking. Let's get us up to 100K. So this is what you're not understanding. The fallibility of the people before us. Why Buddha died under the tree. Why you ain't never seen Christ. Or why you don't understand about Enoch and Elijah. Why they was able to be caught up. And what was the whole purpose of the body preservation, the mummification. Once you understand what mummification was about, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. Mummification was to preserve the body so that you can go to the afterlife and be able to come back to a sense of yourself, a sense of a reality, a sense of originality, right? So they wanted to preserve your temple because your body is the temple. The Bibles tell you that the kingdom of heaven is within you. Now, here is my question. If you believe that, how many people believe that the kingdom of God is in you, that the kingdom of heaven is in you? How many believe that? Put some ones in the chat if you believe that the kingdom of heaven is in you or the kingdom of God is within you. Put some ones in the chat. Put some ones in the chat if you believe that the kingdom of God is within you or the kingdom of heaven is within you. Put some ones in the chat. Let's talk real quick, right? Because I'm finna address something to you. Everything that we do here on the HerbMan Show seems to be a setup, but it's only setting you up to set you free. Okay. Now, almost every person that responded that yes, the kingdom of God is within me and the kingdom of heaven is within me. Okay. My next question to you is going to be, what God do you know that will reside in a temporary kingdom? My next question going to be to you that put the ones in the chat is, what God do you know? What superhero, what super character do you know that lives in a temporary kingdom? See, so if the kingdom of heaven is within you and the body is the temple, then you have not yet made the body ready for the Spirit of God to be able to inhabit. This is body preservation, but you can't see it in that verse. You can't see it in that way. So we're trying to illustrate to you that body preservation has been the key to longevity since the beginning of time, but you don't know that's ancient science of why it's important, what they were trying to do because of its importance, and why it still should be a thing for you today. Body preservation. So they starved themselves and they fasted too long and then couldn't preserve the body. Some of them was consumptive and gluttonous and greedy and couldn't preserve the body. But the people who were trying to get into that spiritual consciousness had a little bit of the information. Fasting, and we know that sharing our goods, and we knew that giving back and having this reciprocal understanding of nature, so that I would sacrifice fruits and vegetables back to nature for nature if I wanted something from nature. So I had the offerings and the sacrifices, and I had the fasting. I had it all down pat. I had the understanding of lack and the understanding of sharing all down pat. But what I did not get, and what is still not being told today, is how to preserve the body so that even when you fill it with the spirit, you can still live. You can still be alive. That is what they were trying to get, everlasting life. The reason why you keep watching Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and all these superheroes is because you're fascinated with everlasting life. It's called immortality. So immortality, then you got to go back to why they would mummify. Why they would mummify had a lot to do with the afterlife and that journey. That when you come from that afterlife, you can come back to the body to tell us about it. So therefore, it was called the Osirian awakening. Okay, the Osirian awakening. What was Osiris known for? Death and rebirth. But this dying is not the actual death of your body, but the death of the things that can cause a premature, or that can cause it to speed up aging and cause for you to age out. What are the things that can cause you to age out of here? Stress, the root chakra. This is one of the main demons that you hold within you, is stress and fear and the day-to-day, everyday tasks that got you confused and discombobulated with what you're going to do because you have no control of your destiny. This becomes a stressful being to be in existence in this experimentation you call life, right? So stress is a toxicity that can shorten the lifespan, okay? Guilt and unforgiveness is a toxicity, aka a demonic possession that can shorten the lifespan. So in your journey here, yes, you're going to get these on you because they come from the stimulus of the environment. Every human got to get some stimulus, some stimuli, right? Every human got to get some reaction and some response to things. This is Earth. A lot of stuff happened by chance and by choice. So you have this abundance of chance, things that can happen. So your reactionary speed has to be on point. And so stimuli will come into your life to promote that growth and development of your immune system and your response system. Right? So that's just on the physical level, but it's also doing it on the spiritual level. So life will give you these things, but it's not for you to keep possession of them. It's for you to release them and let them go. Now, we know that based on our teachings that we've been telling you about the high tide, that we know that low tide is a time of release, a time to sail, a time to retreat, a time to give it away, a time to give it up, a time to let it, you see what I'm saying? Let it go. So at the end of the day, now we got the times, but now we just need to know, why is it important to die before I die? To die before I die is a scientific, sacred science that I'm trying to teach you guys in order for you to be balanced. You got to know how to kill behavior. You got to know how to kill trauma. You got to be a good sniper. You got to be a good arsonist. You got to be a good what they call that? A good we was in the military. They call you something when you know how to shoot, real marksman, right? You got to be a good marksman. You got to be able to kill these demons, not nobody else. You got to be able to release these traumas, not add trauma to yourself or to somebody else. So you'll see that these particular dynamics is teaching you everything that you need to know about getting back to your wellness and to your wholeness. Body preservation is what needs to be taught. As you age, you should be eating a whole lot less. As you age, you should be eating a whole lot less. Okay? Unless you have some kind of special condition, unless you're doing some type of illustrious type of strenuous work, then you don't need all of that energy put in if you're not going to burn it all out. Remember that we told you that the incomplete burning of organic matter is called soot, SOOT. But the flood, the high tide, leaves behind fertile silt. So you have this particular dynamic in which nature is leaving behind something for you, is putting in work for you, but then is asking to be reciprocated. So that if I give you fertile silt, then you'll do the planting. So the fertile silt is the knowing of the wind. See, if I know when it's going to flood, then I can catch that and go on up there and plant my seeds. So the knowing when gives you the fertile silt. If you know when to do something, you can catch the opportunity every time. If you know what number going to hit, you can play that every day and be all right. If you know what job to call, you can call that every day and be all right. If you know what lottery to, you know what I'm saying? If I know when, you done fucked up. Now you know that, right? So introducing myself to the knowing when is the fertility that comes behind now being in a super conscious arena, a space, to where you're walking through this paradigm, knowing exactly why, when, and how you should be doing things. And that, my friends, will start to slow the pace of aging down, because that is what I keep telling you guys is called contentment. Okay, contentment. The only reason we suffer is because of our wants, needs, and desires. Okay? So if you want something, if you need something, if you desire something, then that means that you're not sufficient or adequate in an area. If you have no sufficiency or adequacy in an area, if you just can't be satisfied, then that determines whether you're able to get to this heavenly consciousness or not, which is what I keep trying to teach out here, right? I'm really teaching you about how to ascend, how to align yourself up with the highest consciousness, but I'm also showing you how the body is relevant in that transition, that you can't really just die and go to heaven like that. You got to try to do this in the living, because it's only in the living that you recognize it as heaven. That's an English word that you was taught, that by the language that you're in now, by the social engineering that you're in now, you created a heaven dynamic in your life experience. And you created a hellish dynamic in your life experience. That's based on your human mind. Right? So the only way you're going to know something is heaven is while you're yet alive and still have that mind. Because when you die, that mind doesn't retain the language. So you're not going to know things as you know them now, because you're going to go back to source, where when you came into this dynamic, your source is humanity. But when you leave this dynamic, your source is source. That's a language that is not going to say HEAVEN. That's a language that's not going to remember mama. Those things, those humans, characteristics go with the human. Y'all don't hear what I'm trying to say. So in order to do this everlasting life thing, this 120-year thing, is you must understand how important the body is for the journey. We're underestimating how important the body is for the journey. So we're eating a lot, we're drinking a lot, we're smoking a lot, we're thinking a lot, we're doing a lot, and you're running down the body. What else do I need? How else do you want me to say this? Okay. How else do y'all want me to say it? Okay. So this particular owner's manual is trying to show you how to balance that dynamic out. So therefore, if we can introduce you to your spiritual prowess, your spiritual giftings, your spiritual activation, that can take a little bit off of the physical side. You're trying to do everything with your brain, with your arms, with your legs, with your heart, with your lungs, with your feet, with your eyes, with your mouth, with your nose. You're trying to do everything with this little body you got. But I'm trying to teach you guys today more than any other time that I've been on live today, is that your mind is different from your brain. But your mind, you know that to be in existence, but you don't really fully understand the power that the mind possesses, although the mind is controlling every dynamic in your life. It's like you can't focus on the mind. You can see your face in the mirror. You can see your eyes in the mirror. You can see that you got hair on your face in the mirror. You can see you just put on some clothes or you bucket naked in the mirror. You can see your skin color in the mirror. You can see your blemishes and your flaws and all in the mirror. But you can't seem to capture the running around of the mind. And yes, you can bust your head to the white meat and you're going to be able to see a little bit of your brain, but you still won't be able to see the mind. The only way to see your mind is to see your actions. The only way you know what was going on in my mind is by how I look today. Okay, he must have wanted to wear that shirt today with them pants today, with his little necklace on today. And that's a fact because I got it on. So we know that it went through the mind. Only way you're going to know. So what we're trying to get you to see is that there's a part of this journey that is going to burn you out if you don't get it what they got. Well, what they didn't get either, because they couldn't get it either. You got to think about it. If resurrection was such a big thing from Osiris, right? The Osirian awakening. The Osirian awakening is rebirth. Let me put this right here. Is rebirth and resurrection, right? Well, let's say death and rebirth. Okay, death and rebirth, right? Death and rebirth. These are seasons. These are seasons. They're not necessarily what you would think it is. This is not a baby coming out of a womb again. And this is not the end of something. These are seasons. Y'all don't get it, man. Hopefully one day y'all will get it, bro. Hopefully one day y'all will get what we putting down, man. Put some ones in the chat if y'all get what we putting down. Okay? I'm really trying to eradicate this. I can't heal and I can't ascend and I can't do this. But we got to get out of spookism. We got to get out of this elementary school understanding of this deep science and information. Okay? We got to get out of it. We got to be able to wake up a little bit and really start to simplify this thing enough for us to understand what everything's really meaning. Okay? These are seasons. Death is a season of something, and rebirth is a season. Okay? Now, if we're looking at the 4 seasons, which is what we do with the owner's manual, so we know that this here would be, if you're in the northern hemisphere, this would be spring. Okay? Only if you're in the northern hemisphere. This would be spring and summer, and you'll have fall and winter. Okay? Only if you're in the northern hemisphere would this be spring, summer, fall, and winter. Okay? Only if you're in the northern hemisphere would this be spring, summer, winter, and fall. Right? If you're in the southern hemisphere, then it's going to change a little bit. Okay? Then it's going to change a little bit. If you're in the southern hemisphere, then this would be spring. Okay? This would be summer. This would be fall. And this would be winter. So you see the subtle misunderstanding of the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere will have you messed up, not being able to be in alignment with nature. So you'll see that when is death as far as these seasons are concerned. Anybody can tell me. When is death? If it's a season, when would be death? Fall, spring, winter, or summer? Because I'm trying to tell you that Osiris wasn't real, Jesus wasn't real, but nature is. Okay? So death would be the winter. Don't you know that every day, every week, every month, every year, you have winter? There's some death of some things that come into your life. There's a death of a job, death of a relationship, death of a friendship, death of a business opportunity, death of an entrepreneur opportunity, death of a college ambition, death of a car that you wanted so bad it broke down on you, death of that car, death of that particular ideal, that creativity that you were looking for, that you wanted to do, that business idea, that unction that you had. These are seasons. Winter happens every day, not just every year, right? Seasons. They don't mean the end of your life. They just means the end of things in your life. So you got to learn how to use this under control. Because using this out of control means that you're going to be the same way as the gurus, not understand body preservation. And without understanding body preservation, if it was so important for them to go through the afterlife journey and be able to have something to come back to, then we know that the body preservation, the health of the body is important in this whole evolution of the everlasting journey. Right. So, okay. So those are the things, right? So you got to understand those things for what they are. Now, what is the season for rebirth? Out of fall, spring, winter, and summer, what is the season of rebirth? Anybody would know? Huh? Anybody know? Out of fall, winter, spring, and summer, which one would be the rebirth? Spring, right? Spring. So there you go. Now, in essence of what we're talking about is going to be what? Spring and winter, air and water. Your most important element on the planet is air, and the one that you had in the beginning before you got air was water. Air and water is what you got to get out of the paradigm. Again, we talk about temperature and fluids. Hot and cold are the temperature sides. Fluids are going to be wet and dry. Those are characteristics of fluids, wet or dry. The characteristics of temperature can be hot or cold. Right now, we're understanding that cold and wet, right? Cold and wet is this thing that we got to watch out for. Okay? Is this thing that we got to watch out for. So if death is a season, then I can welcome that, and we can call that death. We can call that what? Low tide, right? You can call that low tide, the death of something, right? That's because we releasing it. We letting it go. We selling it off. We can call the rebirth the high tide. Okay? These are seasons, not actual things. So, with that being said, when we're talking about the body and body preservation and the importance of everlasting life and how we get there in this modern day and time, And even having me standing up here right now on TikTok to you in the year 2025, telling you about everlasting life in a different way than your pastor or your imam or your rabbi is teaching it, should offer you some introspect into what time we're in. Everybody's been talking about stuff that won't let you one day longer than the next man. Everybody's been teaching you and giving you something that's been fruitless. It said that you can know the fruit, you can know the tree by the fruit that it bears. So how can a God live in a temporary infrastructure when they've been trying to body preserve to keep that temple alive? For the God body to be able to exist in it everlasting. You just told me your temple is the temple of God, and that kingdom of heaven is within you, and that the kingdom of God is within you, but the temple is crumbling. The temple is dying. The temple is decaying. What God do you serve that's going to live in a decaying temple? Oh, somebody, see, we haven't been able to get this right yet. And see, I can't teach it this way. That's why I had to leave the church how to teach it the way I need to teach it so that I can teach it the right way without being ridiculed and looked upon as something else. When I know what I'm talking about, you're not teaching everlasting life the way that you think you because you can't illustrate it to me. I can't see it and I can't visualize it through somebody else's life. But then show me what that looks like to me. And for your measly, funky little $50, that's what we've been able to do with a program called Owner's Manual. Okay? So now that we got that all out, if you are interested in your Owner's Manual, please give me. So understanding that these are seasons of times of things that will get released in my life and things that are going to get rebirthed in my life. So I got a released and then I got a rebirth. Right? So now when we're looking at these particular types of things that can come up in our experience, which we call trauma and drama, then we understand that we have to have the mechanism of being able to heal, cause death to these traumatic events. Die before dying. When the Bible telling you about kill the flesh, it wasn't talking about your real body, your life. It was talking about things in your life. Okay? These are seasons. A release and a rebirth. Yes, yes, these are seasons. So now it's all about understanding how to get into the season that you need. If you got dialysis, that means that you need to rejuvenate, rebirth your kidney. If you have HIV, that means that you need to rejuvenate, reboost your immune system. If you have cancer, tumors, autoimmune system, all these different things means that you need to rebirth something. Or it could mean that we need to put an end to something that's going on in the body. You get all of this for a funky measly $50 in your honest man. And it's just there, it's subtle. It's not going to be so eye-popping, so eye-whopping for you to knock you out. But it's in your honest manual. It's going to tell you about your balancing act. It tells you about all these different things that you need to do to balance it. I just use different scenarios to keep teaching, but at the end of the day, same thing over and over and over and over again, you guys. All right. So I think I had a receipt too for my people on TikTok. I got a receipt for you for my folks on YouTube. I'm sorry you won't be able to see the receipt. We'll show you exactly what I am teaching about. All right. So boom. So Egyptian mummification was transformation into the Osirian or Osirian being. Okay, that's what we're talking about the Osirian awakening. Okay, remember that the body preservation was a part of your sojourn, your soul's journey. That it needed to be preserved so that you can have something to come back to. Now we know that back then, none of them was able to come back to the body to tell you about that, right? So therefore, you have the Osirian being, which is a identifier of death and rebirth. Somebody that did die and somebody that came back. Now that same story about Osiris is also reverberated in the story of Jesus the Christ. Somebody that did die, but somebody that came back. Okay, and then you had two people that never saw death, which was Elijah and Enoch. They didn't have to die. Okay, so now you have this understanding of what does this mean symbolically. We got to understand what does somebody dying and coming back mean symbolically. Let me shorten this because I'm gonna ask y'all. I'm gonna ask all 120 of y'all that's on this thing. Keep tapping the screen, you guys. Let's get us up to 100K. What does it mean to die and come back? If it never happened realistically, then what are they trying to tell us spiritually? If we all can agree that that never happened, we're just talking about for shits and giggles. Now, for some of y'all that think it did happen, that's fine. But for shits and giggles, let's just say that it did not happen for real, but there's a real meaning behind it. What does that mean? Why would you tell me about Osiris dying and being resurrected and Jesus dying and being resurrected if they didn't happen physically? Then what's the implication spiritually? KLM said renewing your mind. Sabrina said rebirth mentally. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Anybody else? What you think that they were talking about? Renewing of the mind. Okay, renewing of the mind. I got a few renewing of the minds. Who else? Who else? Being born again. Rejuvenate like something gotta go. Can we start calling him by his name? God, not Jesus. It ain't no him anyway. It wasn't no. It wasn't nobody. Um, okay, blessings. Okay, renewing thoughts. Okay, renewing your spirit. Wiping the slate clean. Okay, so all of that being said, wiping the slate clean, renewing of the mind. Okay, when is the renewing of the land? So now, if we're looking at what we've been teaching you about the high tide and the low tide, we've been teaching you about the flood time. We've been teaching you about planting. We've been teaching you about harvesting. Those 3 seasons, right? You got the flood, which is Aket. You got the planting season, which was Purek, and then you had the harvest season, which was Shavuot, right? Talk about that. So now, when we're looking at this and we're saying, what is the significance of birth and rebirth, rise and fall? We're talking about the ecliptic of the sun. The significance of rebirth and death, the significance of rise and fall is because of the following of the ecliptic of the sun. The sun will rise in the east and the sun will set in the west. This is what you call rebirth in the east and the death of the sun in the west. It had nothing to do with people. Nothing to do with people. Okay? Osiris did not live and then died and then come back, but in reference to the sun doing that. Remember, we're always following the Son of God. We ain't never not following the Son of God if you come into the HerbMan Show. I may not say Jesus because I'm trying to get you to see what real son we following, and you ain't even following Jesus nor this son, so it don't even really matter. If I told you the truth or if you was reading the truth, you still ain't doing right. So it don't matter. If you got the truth in your hand, if I got the truth in mine, until we actually start doing these disciplines and start being disciplined with the information that we have, it don't matter if it's the truth or not, you still ain't doing it. So to follow the sun, you'll see that the sun will rise and it will fall. And that falling of the sun is in reference, is in other words called death. And that rise of the sun is, in other words, called resurrection. And it was understood that when the sun rose, it shed light on the hidden thing. And that when the sun died or when the sun set, emptiness was a part of the light. Remember, I told you darkness is a part of the light spectrum. So yeah, when the sun rises, you can see from infrared to ultraviolet, but dark matter is still around the corner. So then it lies in the west, so dark matter can come in and take this place. You call it night. And emptiness and darkness starts to fill the spaces where light used to be. But just because it get dark don't mean that it's hurting you. Didn't no owl get cut off because it got dark. Didn't no water come out of place because it got dark. The earth didn't stop spinning because it got dark. So then we can understand to accept darkness as light, meaning that it's just as useful, just as beneficial, just as a part of the components as day is. Now, when I understand the value in nighttime, then I can start to understand the value in low tide. I can start to understand the value in the depth of these particular traumatic events in my life. I can start to understand the value of there's going to be some good times and some bad times. I can start understanding the value of being on the mountaintop and being in the valley low. I can start understanding the value of fasting because I've been consuming. I can start understanding the value of resting because I've been working. I can understand now the value of doing the things that I don't know much about, stretching myself in areas that I'm not comfortable with in order for me to be a well-balanced individual. Now I understand that I do need to take a little break off the alcohol for a little bit, or off the drugs for a little bit, or off the pork for a little bit, off the beef, what is causing the problem. It's value in that part. It's value in restraint. You sick because you can't stop yourself. Got your harnessing our soul energy. We have more energy when we die. We come up. Right. Once I was born, now I can see. Once I was blind, now I can see. I hear y'all. I hear y'all. I hear y'all. Okay. So the biggest thing that you take away from this is now not only do we know the knowing when, but now we know the why. The why is to make sure that we're understanding that body preservation and learning how to slow life down, get into this contentment state, this peaceful state of existence, and not being overly consumptive, being moderate in our approach to everything, not having too many attachments here, because we know that this is just a sojourning, right? And so we're just going to, because see, if you're talking about everlasting and you're talking about a whole planetary rotation, then yes, you got to be willing. There's going to be some people you're going to leave. There's gonna be some things you're gonna leave. There's gonna be some places you're gonna leave. There's gonna be some people that you're gonna leave. There's gonna be some new things that you got to see. If you are here for a lifetime, then and the earth is yours, then you got to look at that as being able to go and do. So that means that you can't be too attached to things that won't allow you that freedom to be able to go and do. Okay? He'll explain, my husband has totally changed since the solstice. He is a Gemini. Uh, I don't know why he's totally changed since the solstice. I don't really understand that question because it doesn't really have nothing to do with a Gemini. It may just have something to do with his life and what he's going through personally. So it would take him to be able to come and ask whatever things he got going on. You as a wife is doing your due diligence. You're trying to reach out, but really, in order to help somebody, first mode to help them is that they must ask for help. Okay. And so the biggest thing about your husband is that you asking and not him. And therefore, we can't get the right energy to him and see what's going on through you. You would have to be able to get him to see me. And he can talk to me, he can call me, you do whatever, but it would have to be an energy exchange between me and him. You can't be the mediator, okay? Because he'll look at you like, who the hell this nigga is, and who the hell he told you and shit, so you won't be able to help him with that. I can't help him with it though, but he has to ask for it. Okay? That's what feels so hard. Thank you. Not a problem. Yeah, anytime that you're coming to help for somebody else, I would rather you bring the person, okay? Because you trying to reverberate back to that person certain things, and that person feel like you are not capable of helping them, like, then it just falls on deaf ears, yeah, right? But again, getting the owner's manual, I think would do your husband some justice. Okay. Um, all we need is a birthday. We wouldn't need nothing else. We don't need no credit card information. You know what I'm saying? We don't need no social security number. We don't need no time, no location, or anything. Just a birthday, right? And be able to kind of go through his life, see where he's at in life, what's going on in his life, and then what we can do about it will be all in the owner's manual for a measly, funky $50. Okay. So if you wanted to know more, if you wanted to know him more, if he wanted to know himself more, then you get that in the owner's manual. That's what this owner's manual is about. Okay. You guys can't hear me? Can you guys hear me out there? People talking about they can't hear me. Some say they can. I don't know who's who. Okay. L Gross, don't be coming on here with your little cheap phone issues when everybody else can hear me. They're wrong with you. Messing up my life. All right. So look, we got to make sure that we are getting this into the hands of our loved ones. But more importantly, man, you got to make sure that you're coming on to the live. We try to come on every day between 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, it's a little difficult now because I'm in South Africa, so the time changes are different. We're still trying to hold on to what we got there in America. We know you guys are looking for alternatives. We know you guys are needing this information. We know that it's working for you guys there. We just want to make sure that we continue to allow this to be accessible, not only for those that are in the Americas, but also for those that are on the continent of Africa as well. We here, and while we here, you want to go ahead and work us while we here. Because when we need to move on, we're gonna move on to the next place. All right. So y'all need to make sure that you get your information that you need. Um, LM said paying the invoice right now. Yeah, it's all good. And you also are getting your herbs as well. So we were going through a transition of trying to make sure that we got the shipping down pat. Now you're able to get your herbs from your owner's manual. So if you are ready now to go ahead and get your herb packages that you see that comes in your owner's manual, then let's do it. Let's get it. Okay. Let's go ahead and start to spread this word about holistic healing, but a man going back to nature to do it, right? Talking back to nature. That used to be a unique gift that was given to only a select few of us when it came to herbalism and it came to healing our communities. Everybody now want to be a herbalist or want to be a healer, but you don't have a language to talk to nature. Some of you guys are not talking to your plants, you're not talking to your herbs, and you don't have the language to talk to nature. I ain't saying everybody. But some of y'all do not have a language to talk to nature. So why would I come and talk to you about some of my more critical issues if you don't have the language to go behind the veil and talk to the one and only? You see? You don't got the language. What's going on, John? John Dunn. Yes, we can give you whatever state or country you in. You just let us know. We'll send you a special invoice. But it doesn't matter where you at. We're dealing with people in UK, in South Africa, and all places of the planet. We can get you the information that you need. I might can't get you the herbs, but I can get you the consultation, definitely. I've talked to nature my whole life. Okay, shoe girl. Sure, girl, you talked to nature your whole life. What did nature say to you today? How long have you been in South Africa? We've been here for almost a month now. Yes, we're still sending things out. We're not sending the whole collection. I don't got a whole collection of herbs to send out to you, but we're still sending out the NATO blends and the detoxes and stuff like that. Because people are disconnected from Mother Earth and the universe. They go to doctors. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't know the language. Okay. That's so amazing how you liking it. It's cool here, it's cool here, it's cool here. I have no regrets. I love South Africa. Listen to this holy man. Yes. Yeah, I will email you. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, you guys, this is what they were teaching. That's all I'm trying to tell you. It's just that they didn't complete the teaching. So if you're trying to do what you've learned from them, you will be incomplete. Okay. If you're trying to do just what Buddha did, you would be incomplete. If you're trying to do this just off solely what the Bible said, you will be incomplete. It literally tells you in the Bible that the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. Okay, that's a scripture in the Bible. It says the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. All that's basically saying is that if you try to follow this by the letter, you won't make it. But if you can add a little spiritual context to it, it'll make all the sense to you in the world. This is a timekeeping system. You can call it the timekeeper. I call it the owner's map. It is a GPS tracking system, like a compass or anything else you want to call that, that's giving you navigational tools, not only to what you need in life or what you want in life, but it's also a navigational tool to find your way to your healing. So when you're looking at a GPS system, a global positioning system, then you're looking at something that is encompassing your life. And that's what you're getting in the owner's manual. Okay. Any questions thus far? Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay. Any questions about understanding that these are seasons, but that don't mean that they are necessarily physical things that we should be just solely attributing to these things. It's not just talking about a physical death of your body. It's not just talking about the physical birth of a baby. But death and rebirth can happen in seasonal, more parabolistic type of ways. And a lot of times when you're sick, it's a very good time to start to kill certain things in your life before those certain things literally kill you. And you got to know how to do it. You got to know what to do. Okay. We can tell what's going on with you in your life by your disease. You all better study yourselves and be lost. Some of the info is good, but these false gods, nah, it ain't no false God. But I get you. We keep he'll keep talking. Thank you. Okay. But the bottom line is you never been taught everlasting life. I don't care who you call me, what you call me, and what you think of me, or what you think of the other people. Okay. You've never been taught everlasting life. You never saw this illustrated before. Nobody's ever told you. They'll rather tell you about the earth being flat. They'll rather tell you about you being Native Indian. They'll rather tell you about Trump this and Trump that and this and that. But they won't tell you about this science that you're missing. How can the God be in you when you are a temporary temple? Why would any God exist in a temporary temple? Just why I keep saying like that little reference. You got false gods and God. Everybody false. If you die, if you still dying, you're not a god or goddess. If you haven't reached immortality, there's no way for you to be a superhero, a God of goddess or anything of that nature. So we can go ahead and nip that in the bud. God and goddesses do not die. But you got to listen to what I'm teaching you. Gods and goddesses do not die, but your understanding of body preservation is so elementary that you do. Your understanding of body preservation is so elementary. All right. So the Christian's mystical union, conformity with Christ. So spiritual death and rebirth was about conformity to Christ in the Christian mystical union. Tibetan Buddhism and Bardo, it was the journey through the intermediate state. That's what spiritual death and rebirth was a journey through the intermediate state. In alchemical Nagrido, meaning blackening, it was the dark night of the soul. Spiritual death and rebirth was considered the dark night of the soul in alchemical Nagrido, meaning the alchemical blackening. Okay? So what I'm trying to teach you is that body preservation has been an ancient damn thing. I ain't just making this up, nor did I just bring this up. But they didn't get it right, and they died trying to tell us about this journey. And we haven't gotten it right, and therefore we're doing the same thing. We're dying trying to teach you about this journey. How do we turn off the desire to do things that are destructive? So the thing about it is that's what you got to come in with the reprogramming. Okay? My YouTubers, if you got questions or concerns, please feel free to let me know. All right, I'll make sure that I pay attention to you over here that we don't lose you or miss your comments. Okay, for my folks over there on YouTube, if you got questions, we're here for you. Okay, now with that being said, um, that's where the cleansing process come in. Okay, remember what we're talking about here: air and water, right? We're talking about the air and water, right? So we're talking about the air and water, then we got to understand the implications of air and water, right? So you're talking about the spirit, and then you're also talking about your emotions. Well, we understand that the emotions are going to be in contact with the endocrine system. We understand that the endocrine system are talking about more or less your hormones or harmony, and that is going to be mostly stress hormones. So now we chemically got what it does to the body. Stress hormones are going to put chemicals into our bloodstream, depending on what it is that we feel. So then we went back and we talked about thinking and feeling, creating the action. There's no action without thought and feeling. You think of a thing, that thought then makes you feel something, that feels something, then makes you do something. The process of action. Now understanding thought and feeling, then now we understand that this is thought and this is feeling. Thought can be electrical, thought can be physical, thought can be the masculine energy, and then feeling can be magnetic, feeling can be feminine energy. So now we get it now. Now we get it. Now we talking about temperatures and fluids, yin and yang, acid and alkaline, thought. Okay, so we get it. It's these two things that we got to balance. Okay, so we get that. It's two things we got to balance. So now your question was, how do I disconnect myself from destructive behavior? Go to Isaac, you got to go to war with those behaviors. See, you don't know how to kill something in you, and it'll kill you. See, that's what I'm trying to teach you about not knowing how to utilize death. See, when you don't know how to utilize death, that means that you playing with electricity as a baby. You're gonna burn the house down. You have this uncanny ability to kill things within you that rises up against you and your will. But because you haven't been fully developed in that warship, that warriorship between you, yourself, and I, then you allow things to fester and stay alive in you. These are what we call cancer. So you have an infestation of infectious emotions. You have an infestation of infectious. Emotions. And the only way you can deal with them, the only way you can eliminate them or to kill them is to deal with them. For your funky measly $50, we're giving you what to deal with in your honest question. Good question. That was a good question. Y'all don't want to deal with them, but we got to deal with them. We got to deal with them. If your job is causing you stress, you can't keep clocking in. I know, but I ain't got number 7 years left. You might not even make it to retirement if the damn job is killing you. That's what I'm saying. Do you know how to kill something, or you gonna let it kill you? Do you know how to let the damn job go, or is the job gonna be the death of you? Do you know how to release time? We'll teach you how. We'll teach you how. We'll get you back into understanding nature. And once we show you the elements and the power in which nature has, and then we start to show you how you are connected to that same source of energy, then now you'll see how much more power you've been had than what you originally thought that you had. Demons are not real. If you look at the word demons, it's DEMONS. So it is the emotion. The emotion. Okay, demons are not real. Okay, just like God ain't real, it's a construct of your mind. But it's okay to have that. It's okay to have it. I ain't tripping on it if you got it. But the bottom line is you created that because you didn't get answers. Like, why are you here? When you don't get an answer like that, and nobody can answer that for you, then you're going to say that that must be a God. It's okay. Okay. And therefore, if it must be a God, then now you start creating nemesis for your superhero. So then demons become the villain. But really, it's a mind construct where the mind can be evil and the mind can think good thoughts. And when your mind goes to evil, you call that demonic, but they're actually deadly emotions. And the only reason these emotions are deadly is because they create a toxicity, acidity within the body that creates a lot of waste product. If you don't know how to release that waste product, you're going to damage your body. These emotions create a lot of toxic, acidic waste just for you to be attachment issues and that bother you. It creates acidity in your blood, not just your spirit. So we teach you the duality of the physical things that are happening to you and the spiritual things that are happening to you, all while they're happening simultaneously. A spiritual unction creates toxicity, just like a bad unction would. How do you release your waste disposal system? Your ability to understand the no tide, the importance of after the flood. You just can't always be waiting on the flood. Okay? We're almost to 100K. You guys, you keep tapping, I'll keep talking. So sad to see my people confused by the colonizer, Bible, and gods. Well, yeah, I mean, but you know, the thing about it is, what do we have to offer the people that can create the longevity? Jared Collins, we're gonna send you out today. If you the same Jared Collins and about the detoxes, we're gonna send you out, man. Got you coming. What did he say? Any questions? Any questions thus far? All right. So a lot of y'all, when you getting sick, what's happening is you don't have enough energy. A lot of you guys, when y'all are getting sick, I'm gonna tell y'all what's happening. A lot of you guys, when you get sick, because you did medications, and you've done all these different things, and you're worrying. So, once you got the diagnosis, you start to worry, start to do the treatment, start to eat the foods that they told you to eat, you start to drink the fluids that they told you to drink. And none of those foods, none of those medications, none of those treatments is giving you any energy. And that's why your kidneys can't come back online. I know a lot of y'all, I be talking about dialysis because that's the number one thing going on right now, dialysis. The reason why you can't come on dialysis because these are your kidneys. This is a direct understanding of your kidneys. Zodiac is Libra. So this is Libra right here, right? We're talking about the equinox. Libra is over here. So this is a direct understanding of your balancing act. If your kidneys is off, it automatically tells us that your life was out of balance. Automatically. Dialysis is literally letting us know that you will live the out of balance life. Now, with that being said is when the only thing about the reason why you can't come off of dialysis is because the dialysis along with dialysis, chemotherapy, radiation, certain medications, certain foods, and drinks do what? What do they do to you? What do these do to you? This is the reason why you can't be healed. Dialysis, chemo, radiation, certain medications, foods, and drinks, they're doing something to you, which is the reason why you can't be healed. Even if you go get on a diet, even if you try to eat right, even if you do everything the doctor says to you, you're still sick. Why? What is these things doing to you? AGP said it's toxic. What else? Einstein said killing the body. What else? I'm looking for a particular answer. What they doing to you? Lowering your immune system, acidity, hormones, acid, bring frequency down, damage. Okay, a lot of you guys are hitting it on parasites. I hear you, Angie P. But this is what the reality of it is. All of this stuff is lowering your immunity. We're going to call it energy. Okay, all of these are energy zappers. Dialysis is an energy zapper. Chemo is an energy zapper. Radiation is an energy zapper. Certain medications are energy zappers. Certain foods and drinks are energy zappers. And what do you need to heal in your time of sickness? What is that one thing that you need to heal in your time of sickness? Meaning that if somebody got kidney problems, cancer problems, tumor problems, blood pressure, chronic illness problems, if they got digestive issues, whatever with these foods and drinks, what is the number one thing that you need? Energy. You need energy. You need energy. You need energy. Now, watch this. Keep tapping that screen. I'll keep talking. Let's get us up to 100K. Watch this. You need energy. All of these things are zapping you of your energy. You need energy. Energy is going to come in the form of oxygen, glucose, and water. And we know that water needs to be structured, right? So structured water, some glucose, some starch, something, and then some oxygen is what the body needs to perform the healing. Oxygen, glucose, and water is what the body needs to perform the healing. If I really look at this ain't nothing to me but an IV. Sugar water. Sugar and salt water is an IV. You can literally make a emergency IV out of sugar and salt. I think it's like 2 teaspoons of sugar to 1 teaspoon of salt, or maybe 2 teaspoons of sugar to a half a teaspoon of salt. Put in some water, and you can revive a motherfucker IV wise, intravenously with these components. So this is what your body needs. So in dialysis, it's something in dialysis where you're not getting the oxygen, glucose, and water. Something in chemo and radiation where it's zapping your oxygen, glucose, and water. Something in the medications and the foods and the drinks that are not giving you the proper oxygen, sugar, and water. And that's why you can't heal. Now, here's the thing. If you got low energy, even if you want to tell your body to detox, which is a command, fasting, detoxing, doing this and doing that, these are commands. These are things that you're commanding your body to do, but you got to have the energy to do it. So healing is a command. So if I want to tell my body to heal, that's a command. What do I need to heal? Energy. What would I need to detox? That's why your detoxing ain't working no more. People saying, "Well, I ain't losing no weight no more," and I didn't hit a little thing right here where I ain't going beyond this weight, and I ain't been able to lose no more weight, and I ain't been able to get my blood pressure down no lower than this, and I ain't been able to get my blood sugar down no lower than this. It's because you hit this little. It's because the thing about it is what you're asking for the body to do, it no longer has energy to do it. Losing weight is a command. You need energy to lose weight, energy to detox, energy to heal, energy to do whatever command it is that you want your body to do. You need the energy to do it. When you get zapped from your foods and drinks, medication, radiation, chemo, and dialysis treatments, and everything else you're doing, which is what we call the inorganics, putting the inorganic matters in your body. Okay? When you get full of these inorganics to try to heal yourself, then guess what you're gonna try to do? Come to an herbalist. Come to HerbMan. Oh, I saw you on TikTok. This, that, and third. My mom and them got stage 4, stage 5. What can you do for them? They out there in hospital. No energy and rejuvenate life. No zeal, no willingness, no energy. You can't do nothing about it. And we know that these are depleting you more and more. You're peeing out too much potassium. You're peeing out too much. In some of these instances, you're peeing out too much potassium. That's going to become a problem with you. Potassium is a very critical nutrient for your nervous system, for your intracellular, the inside of your cell. There's more potassium on the inside of your cell than on the outside of your cell. There's more sodium extracellular. There's more potassium intracellular. Now you peeing out all the potassium because the dialysis got you messed up. The chemo, the radiation, that's gonna mess with your zinc. Now you're looking at your zinc and your iron fluctuating. Now you can't. Now you need blood transfusion. You don't know what's going on with your iron, and you don't know what's going on with your zinc. Is because they're messing with your immune system with this chemo and radiation. Medications inorganically is messing with your immune system because it is going to suppress your immune system in order for that inorganic medication to take hold. Otherwise, your immune system will dispel the medication off the rip. So they put certain things in medications to suppress your immune system to let the med do its job. Immune system suppressed in medication. Now your gut is messed up. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And so if you're taking aspirin and all this type of stuff and this antibiotic and you worried about why your gut messed up is because of medications. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So if these medications are gonna mess up your immune system, then they're gonna mess up 80% of your gut. And food and drinks, you're eating inorganic foods, even when you're in the hospital. You're drinking Ensure. That's a inorganic, whatever it is, for you to gain weight. It's inorganic. And Ensure hasn't assured anybody that you're gonna leave here just because they gave that to you. Every person I know that they done gave Ensure to has left here. So it ain't got no assurance to it. But Ensure is an inorganic substance. Okay? Inorganic substance. The meat, the bread, all of the hospital food that you're eating is inorganic substance. And if you're diabetic and they keep giving you cookies and pancakes, syrup in the morning, you already know that them folks don't give a damn about you. It should be a diabetic menu. And I know so many diabetics that go in there and get on the IV the next morning. They got some pancakes with some syrup. They got they got old steak and gravy biscuit. Right, so the hospital ain't telling these folks out here you got diabetes not to send no bread products up here to you, not to send no starchy items. Them folks don't care. They don't care. Okay? So you're putting your information into your mortal. I'm putting it back into the hands of immortality, which is nature. I'm taking you back to nature. I'm taking it back to nature. We go through the timekeeper, aka the owner's man. My grandfather had arthritis, and so does my mom. That just means that they look right here. Arthritis comes from here. The adrenals awake. So them same people you'll probably see got sleeping issues. Those same people you'll probably see got blood pressure issues. Those same people you'll see probably got kidney issues, got low energy, always tired, fall asleep on you in a minute. Because those same people are dealing with instability of life. And when you constantly gotta do for yourself, when you constantly gotta do for yourself, even when you ain't got the energy, you run your body down. Arthritis is a sign of running the body down. Arthritis deals with the skeletal system. The skeletal system spiritually is your structure. So spiritually it's your structure and physically it's your structure. Without the skeletal system, you just be a bag of skin. So the skeletal system is literally our structure. Well, when we get arthritis or when we get issues with our joints or with our bones, it's telling us about our life. That stability structure is not as concrete as it should be, and is formulating in the body as arthritis, but in the life as instability. There's a structure problem. People who have arthritis have a problem with structure. That's inflammation in the glands. What do you recommend to detox the gut? You guys can go onto the website and type in detox for detox. Abraham was 86 before he had a child with Sarah. Both passed before even that age. That didn't never happen, but that is a time. That is just a thing about the mind, right? Abraham represented Aries, the mind, the self. Okay, Aries represented that's Abraham, the ram, the mind, the head. And a lot of Aries you'll see here, they can be very compulsive, very impulsive. They're living in the head. So Abraham wasn't no real. They was talking about how the mind can go through certain things. So how do you fix it and bring your energy back up? So to bring your energy back up, remember I just told you guys about the time that this happened, high tide, low tide, right? So you have at least 2 times a month where you start getting this high tide fluctuation, right? And the high tide is not only going to raise the waters on the earth, it's going to raise the waters of the body. Raises of the waters, then you get to your highest frequency. So a couple times a month, regardless if we knew this or not, and we all know that we got some good weeks, we got some bad days in the month. We know that there are always going to be some good times, but shit just going to go our way. We just haven't looked at how that actually synchronizes with each other. But at the end of the day, yeah, we know we got some good days of the week, we got some bad days of the week. A lot of that is hidden on high tide and low tide, but you just didn't know it. So the rage of Kundalini is gonna happen anyway. You just gotta know when in order to capitalize on the whole ascension. This Kundalini energy, this rise and fall of the crystals, of Jacob's ladder, of the Christ oil, of the anointing. It's always happening, but you got to understand what controls the water. That is going to be the moon concept, right? But you're getting these opportunities at least twice a month for you to be at that high frequency and then for you to let go. Be in your high frequency and let go. These are what you would call the best times of your month and the worst times of your month. But now that we're talking about it, I'm encouraging you and challenging you to go and start to now chronicleize, track what I'm telling you. Track it, and you'll see it. And you'll be able to start over a time period. You'll be able to start synchronizing these times. Down. My best times are in the beginning of the month or at the end of the month, which is around those high tides and low tides, which is around those new moons and full moon. So the full moon is the high tide. So you want to try to get around the high tide and the full moon time to capitalize on your highest frequency. And that's when you start to tap in. My mom don't care, and that hurts me. Diabetes. My sister died diabetes at 33. Yeah, that's a crying shame. Something that's very circumventable. How do I get structured water? Go get your own water from the natural springs, right? Natural spring water. Girls go this high tide, low tide, but it's not just girls. Guys do too, because everybody got water in them. Do you teach about the electric feeling? Fine. I teach about everything. It may not be the way you've heard it before, but I teach about everything. How do we detox the gut? I just told you about that. If you need a detox melon ninja, then you can DM me, Dr. Melon Ninja. Okay. If you're looking for a detox, no, you didn't got to DM me. Go to the website, type in detox. That's the one you need for the gut. Okay. Okay, girls last and boys. Yes, girls and boys are affected by the tides. Okay, girls and boys are affected by the tides. We all are affected by the waters. Remember that we came in from the waters. We exchanged water to the air. When you was in your mama's stomach, you was a water barrel, right? You breathe in water, not air. Then you came into the portal and you transitioned from water gills to lungs. Okay, so it's this water that has to be emphasized, but it also is that air. Your spirituality is considered the air. So now you have your spirituality and your emotion. These are the two elements of you that need to be activated in order for you to be able to spiritually deal with these demons. Because if you don't have no spiritual consciousness of these things holding you back, these are the real cancers. These are the real viruses. These are the real parasites. These are the real funguses. These are the real molds. These are the real mildews. These are the real bacteria. These are the real, I'm calling them infiltrators of life. Is these seven deadly emotions. Because these will keep you from being content with Mama Nature. You get all this information for a funky mix to $50 in your own. If you guys are interested in your owner's manual, please DM me. We'll get to you with all the information that you need. Our elements like gemstones are part of the balance. You don't necessarily need gemstones, okay? You don't need it, gemstones and stuff like that. We don't have to get too deep, okay? All you need is some rocks from outside, some dirt from outside, some incense, some candles, some water, and then you just go on from there. How do I improve my adrenaline function? You improve your adrenaline function by improving your stability in life. Improving gets you out of your comfort zone. Okay, improving your response to things. That's how you really improve your adrenal function. Improving how you respond. Do you respond frustrated? Do you respond angry? Do you respond, compulsively? Do you respond, abruptly? Do you respond in these particular? What's your response time? And what is your response? So when you have this abrupt response time, or you have, you're always responding as defensive or something like that, if everything bothers you, then everything is going to fuck up your adrenaline function. So again, contentment, peace, Jeffrey. Peace is what controls the adrenaline function. Peace. How much peace do you have? What do you think of red pine tree oil? Does that cleanse the gut? Nah, but my detox do though. Somebody say I respond okay, no stress, teaming the emotional response. Until I wake up excited to go tend to my garden. Okay, be anxious for nothing though, naturally, Natty. Okay, be anxious for nothing. Okay, I know you're doing good, but be anxious for nothing. Because see now again, we're trying not to formulate attachment issues, right? So we don't want it to be that you so infatuated with your garden that if God tell you or nature tell you to go somewhere for 7 days, you can't go because you crying about the plant. See, these are the little tests that are always going to come into play about your contentment. This contentment is about throwing in your will for the will. That's a hard thing to do. Throwing in your will for the will. Yes, the detox tea. That's the only thing I got on that. Anxious for nothing, be attached to nothing. Do you have some books for psychosomatic health I can get off Amazon? No, but you can always go to cognitive behavior therapy. Okay, cognitive behavior therapy is pretty much what we all need, right? It's all about understanding the dynamics of thought, feelings, and action, right? Understanding that dynamic of thought, feelings, and action, right? What I thought about, what I felt that, how I felt when it went through my mind, how I felt when it went through my body, how my body felt when I did it, right? So you got all these different things. So I was saying cognitive behavior therapy may be a little bit more of a class that you can kind of take to just understand the processes of the mind. Look, there's a reason why we're on dialysis and chemo, radiation, medication, that we're eating improper foods and drink. It's because of the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors, the actions. That's it. What I'm just teaching you is that we got to use the same process to activate healing, just like we use that same process to activate our demise. That's it. We're going to tap back into the same source and show you what it can do for you on the other end. Yeah. See, the attachment part of this ascension thing for y'all is the hardest thing because most of us come into this paradigm socially engineered to do certain things and to get our well-being, get our relevancy from certain things. So if somebody told you you couldn't be a mama, you'll go crazy. If somebody told you you couldn't be a wife or you couldn't be a brother or sister, or mother or father, you'll go crazy, right? And so you are attached to those belief systems, those engineering mentalities that are in your mind. You're attached to those things. And those are very hard and very difficult. I've seen plenty of great men had to succumb to greatness because of the attachments, not being able to go anywhere because of the family dynamic, not being able to do anything because of the family dynamic, not being able to be as free as they possibly can because of the family dynamic that they involve themselves in, thinking that, hey, this is what I was supposed to do at one stage of my life, then realizing that I can't do what I wanted to do or called to do is another thing. Okay? So these attachment issues hold you down. Remember that this is cosmic energy. So that when that high tide comes, when that high frequency comes, you got to be able to be so connected to source that you're not studying nothing else. That's this kundalini rising up. It's high tide, low tide. And there are certain times of the month where you get the high tide and the low tide. You got to know when to fast at those times. You got to know when to release. You got to know when to invite. Right? We talked about this yesterday. Invitation is high tide, right? Invitation is high tide. Invitation in the market, though, that's the buy. So you'll see that a lot of things are happening around June the 11th, June the 12th, and around June the 25th and June the 26th. Watch those dates. I'm working on attachments, and you're right, it's hard. So true. I was just saying this. You have to let go to receive. Thank you. I've been missing your classes. Don't miss them now. Wow, so much understanding. Well, yes. Man, you're the only person teaching this like this. I'm thankful for you. Thank you again, Sabrina. Well, I'm the only person teaching how it affects your health. Okay. I'm not the only person teaching chakras and tarot card and astrology and herbs. And, everybody is broken down. But I'm the only one teaching it holistically, how it all comes together. When you're talking about 144,000, that ain't nothing but the ninth level, right? The ninth level ain't nothing but the pineal. The pineal gland is the ninth level. It's the fire element, right? So the 144,000 ain't nothing but the number 9. You see what I'm trying to say? So these are just nothing but the same illustrations of the same shit. We can go on and on and on. All this esoteric knowledge and all this uh, esoteric and ecoteric, or whatever you want to call it, ESO and ECO, and all this stuff, man, it'll have you going crazy if you can't put it all into one understanding. And the owner's manual does that for you. Do you provide the specific herbs in our owner's manual? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. I'll play around with you. When you purchase your owner's manual, you get all of this. I don't do all of that on the lives, obviously, because people are purchasing it. I do show people a little bit about the owner's manual, what you get in it. But I ain't never gave nobody everything on here because people are purchasing this. Okay, so you need to purchase it to get it. Understand that your owner's manual can't fix somebody else's issues. So everybody needs it. So we keep it accessible, affordable, because it's very highly effective. But everybody needs it. So it will never go more than $50. We'll possibly take it down, but we'll never go more than $50 because we believe that every person on the planet should have an owner's manual. Okay? We believe that. So this ain't for the elite. This for the 99%. All right. Now, with that being said, not only do you get your herbs, you get your foods. Show you foods by colors, right? Because we introducing the colors as well, the chakra colors, all of that. We introduce all of that, but in food colors, you know where you get the chlorophyll from that green. You'll know where you get your lutein or your zeaxanthin from. You'll know when you're getting your carotenoids and all of that from your yellows and oranges and all that type of stuff. And those are actually the phytonutrients that heal you, but you can start shopping by color, knowing that you're getting medication in the colors. Thanks, I appreciate it. Send a little funky tip too. I appreciate it. Hello, brother. What's going on? Like-minded family diet. Make yourself a like-minded family. Yeah. So my only birthday goes with my birthday. Yes, all we need is your birthday. We don't need the time, no location. We don't need no hair sample, blood type, blood sample. We don't need no stool sample. See, the reason why I'm saying a lot of this stuff that I'm saying because everybody that think that they're a master at this requires your blood test. How can you be a master at this requiring a blood test that's going through man's technology, but you talking about being an herbalist? You're supposed to be able to be a herb talker. I ain't gonna get on. I'm gonna stop stepping on these folks' toes. I don't stop stepping on these folks' toes, but you're supposed to be a plant talker. You're supposed to be a plant whisperer. You gotta take my blood and look up under the same microscope, up under the same measurements as doctors. So then it's about the doctor's analogy of my health. It's not about nature. You gotta get my hair sample, my stool sample, my urine sample. Who you sampling? Where you taking it to? The lab. And you're gonna run it through the lab, and then you're gonna put it up under the the guidelines of man's analogy. And you're going to give me a man's diagnosis of a spiritual problem that has caused a physical ramification within my body. And I never ever will get the spiritual help, even though the spiritual thing is the precipice of the issue, is the root of the cause of the disease. You never get that handle. Well, then, okay, I'm going to go to the pastor. The pastor will pray for you, do everything, and you'll walk into the church doors with high blood pressure, and you'll walk right back out of there with high blood pressure. Out of all that spiritual talk. We're missing something in our service technician's ability to service us properly. And you all know that we've been in any service technician providing occupation that the owner's manual makes it easier, baby. The owner's manual make it easy. When I used to work on your HVAC system, I used to work on your appliances. I want your owner's manual. That way I can go to Fraley's or Whaley's. I can go to Whaley's, I can go to Sears, and I can buy the actual part that you need. And make my life easier than trying to buy your part off of AutoZone. What is above the spirit? And half the church on meds, most of the church on meds, mixed with plastic. Somebody tell me what's above the spirit. See, that's what I'm trying to say. That now you're going too deep. There's nothing above the spirit. And if you say that it is and you ain't never been there, then that's debatable. In this paradigm, there's the fire, the air, the earth, and water. Okay? The water being your emotional health department, the earth being your physical health department, the air being your spiritual health department, and then the fire being your mental health department. So to me, there's nothing above the spirit. But let y'all tell it. You're gonna be talking about ether and all this type of stuff. And then now we start to get into debatable information. How do I purchase the cabal, HerbMan? I don't know. I don't sell the cabal. I don't sell the cabal. So I don't know how you purchase that. Okay, but if you're looking to purchase the owner's manual, then you DM me and we'll get you the information that you need. One more time, please. Water, emotion, yes. So the four elements. The water element is the emotional health department. The earth element is the physical health department of life. The air element is the spiritual health department of life. And the fire element is the mental health department of life. In other words, these are your carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Okay, it's the four pillars of anything that exists. Okay, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. So carbon would be earth, oxygen would be air, hydrogen would be water, and nitrogen would be fire. Okay. Also, what that's talking about is, again, the environment versus the requirement, right? What you need in your environment and what's required to keep the homeostasis. All this stuff, nobody's been doing this for health. And all about your spiritual awareness and all about your enlightenment and all about you trying to float away from him. All about you trying to get to the 5D, the 4D, the 3D, the 2D, and all about you trying to get to the astral plane on a plane that ain't even taking off nowhere. So you so in a hurry to try to leave your body because you don't know the efficacy of the body. You don't know the importance and the relevance of the body. And so you keep shitting on the body as a non-relevant part of piece, or even what I'm trying to say is even that's true. You do treat the body like it is shit. But on the other end of that, you also are kind of like pissed off at the body because you blame the body for the death. See, because you don't know how to spiritually engage this experience. So it's almost like you love the body because you know I get to have a little sex in my body and I get to do a little feel good thing. I can't stand this motherfucker. This motherfucker gonna die, right? So you get reckless and you get bitter about the temporary state that you think this is. But if you go deeper into your research, like I was trying to tell you about what we talked about today with mummification, body preservation, realize that that was the thing that they were working on. How to preserve the body so that when I do get into my spiritual enlightenment, I can come back to the temple in which God resides, in which me as a God resides in my body. God in me resides in my body. So how do I reach this high platform of spirituality, but then be able to come back into existence and live in the physical at my highest spiritual awareness? That's everlasting life. Y'all trying to do it without your body. Y'all trying to do it without your body. I want you to go and start researching and asking people about this topic. The body preservation, mummification. What was the why were we preserving body? Why were we using honey and spices? Why were we using black seed oil? Why were we using, all these different things to body preserve? What was the significance in the wrapping of the body? Why would they remove the oil out of the body? I'd be able to do that. You gotta be able to do that, right? So you got to be able to understand that this body preservation part of what we're trying to teach you is important to do this thing. Pacing your body, preserving your body. Just because it's in this physical realm don't mean you run it down. And now we start to get on this thing of, man, this cat done tapped into something here that got us now being able to ride into this thing a little bit more moderate, a little bit more intuitive, and a little bit more peaceful. And we ain't shocked, we ain't angry, we ain't frustrated, we ain't surprised, we ain't over sympathetic about nothing. We ain't overly anxious, we ain't worried, we ain't stressed, we ain't disappointed. Why? Because we have no attachment. Why would the hell would you be disappointed by something if you don't have an attachment to it? When you don't have attachments, then disappointments don't come to you. When you don't have attachments, then disagreements don't come to you. You don't have an opinion. You don't have a desire. You don't have a want. You don't have a need. Everything has been met. You are in no lack. Even when you're bucket naked, you got on everything that you need. Even when you're bucket naked, you got all the food that you need, all the drink that you need. You see, you got to come into this thing with a certain level of contentment, understanding that nature provides, and there is nothing else that you need to worry about. And now you taking worry from me, stress from me, anger from me, frustration from me, disappointment from me, sadness from me. But now you got me all up in here. You talking about once you release the baggage, I can rise. I can rise as high as I want to rise. Once I let go some of their baggage, some of these, I got too many suitcases for the vacation. See, so this high tide, you can't take nothing with you. This is also the story about Noah. Noah, that shit never happened. It's about the mind, the high tide, the flood, the deluge. The deluge, the root word of deluge, the root word of delusional is deluge. Delusional, clouded vision, a watery vision. You can't see clearly. That's being behind the veil. The Noah's Ark is about the flood of the mind. It's about the flood of the mind, man. Okay? I forget to text because I'm so interested at times texting and taking notes. Oh, it's all good, Andrew P. It's all good. We already at 100K. We got about 6 more minutes. Again, you guys, this is the best health program on the planet. You are looking for an alternative way out of modern healthcare system. And you looking for somebody that knows how to talk to nature and get you the right remedies, the right herbs, the right food, the right dietitian, nutrition, everything that you need. Instead of even coming to me, go to nature, and we have that for you for a funky measly $50 with your owner's manual. If you guys are interested, go on over there, DM me. We'll get you the information that you need. Any questions? Any questions? Thank you, guys. All my YouTubers, please go over there and follow us on YouTube. If you guys have not done that before, just in case something happens here, you guys can follow us on there. Again, we're coming live from South Africa, and we're going to continue to keep doing it. I could listen to you wax poetic on the Bible stories all day. That's what we do, man. So when you learn about the mind and the transition of the mind, then it's easy to know the Bible. It's easy to know the Bible when you realize that this not real characters, but they're real messages. And those real messages have to be quantified at some point with what they really mean to my life and to the lives of the people that wrote it. And everybody has been dissecting the brain. From Imhotep to all these people have been trying to dissect the brain because they've been trying to find out how the mind works. And so the mind is everything. And the more we learn about its power, the more we can start to really facilitate our supernatural transformation. And we can go from being unnatural beings to natural beings. We can go from being unnatural to supernatural. We can go from being sick to healed. We can go from being debilitated to being rehabilitated. And we can go from living 75 to 100 years to living everlasting. All it takes is to know how to work your mind. I know for a fact because look at me and what I'm doing. It's all due to a change of mindset. How would I heal a collapsed lung? Through your nervous system. Anytime you're dealing with a organ that does not work properly, the first thing you got to do is rebuild communication back to that organ. There are two messaging systems in your body that's going to send a message. That's your nervous system and that's your endocrine system. So if you have a non-working organ, then you must first try to transmit electrical signals via the nervous system by focusing your mind on that particular part of the body, right? You focus your mind and you send that electrical energy. And then the next one is, remember, thought was one, and feeling. Thought is the nervous system, feeling is the endocrine system, and then that is going to create action, which is that is going to create a result. So you think on the organ, then you feel that organ working, and you keep working it like that until that organ gets to work properly every day by itself. That's how you actually do it. But just for layman's terms, you got to make sure your signals are getting there. That's the first thing. So that's nervous system. The endocrine system runs through the blood. So you got to make sure that there's blood flow getting there so that you can get the chemical messages there. But also the blood brings food. The blood brings the oxygen. The blood brings the glucose. The blood bringing the water. Ultimately, the blood is bringing the energy that is needed for your lung to repair itself. So you must worry about I would say those three. But ultimately, if you just want to break it down, it should be nervous system and circulatory system. Make sure blood flow is getting to that lung, and make sure that nervous system connectivity is going to that lung, and then that lung rejuvenate itself. But it must be able to receive the message. Help with going within. Yes, the biggest thing with going within is to know what to go within to look for. When you go within, you must have your flashlight ready. There are dark spaces going within. There are hidden things, hidden agendas. There are things that you put in all kind of places that you hid. So first of all, you must understand the importance of the flashlight going within, and then secondly, you must understand what you're going within to look for. That's why it is very important to get your owner's manual, because if you're dealing with physical tendencies, we can directly tell you now which spiritual tendencies that we go look for. If you tell me you got high blood pressure, I know to go look for stress. If you tell me you got arthritis, I know to go look for instability. If you tell me you got cancer, I know to go look for grief and depression. If you tell me you got sleep issues and all this, I know to go looking for attachment issues. Tell me you got growth and development issues, infertility, alopecia. I know to go looking for delusion and loneliness. So the first thing is to get your owner's manual so that we'll know what to go look for. Then we'll deep dive. All right. So look, man, I love you guys, man. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Please go tell somebody about your homie HerbMan. We'll be back on tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Until next time. Love HerbMan. Peace. All right, you guys. If you need your owner's manual, deal with me. We'll get you the information. All right, peace. YouTube. Love you as always, man. Peace and wellness to you all. All right. Talk later.